Irish Media Network. We entertain.
Hello and welcome to another episode of About Last Night.
Good evening, folks, and welcome to About Last Night.
What's happening, guys? It's Dara back from another episode of About Last Night. Down here at the Ulster Hall for the NI Music Prize tonight. We've got an interview with Ryan Vail lined up, and he's also got a special performance later with the Arcto String Quartet. Really excited for this one. Stick around. What's the crack, guys? Dara back from another episode of About Last Night. Got Ryan Vail here today doing a performance down at the Ulster Hall with the Arcto String Quartet. How you doing, man?
Yeah, very well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. It's an absolute pleasure as always. But so tonight you're performing with the Arcto String Quartet. Can you tell us a little bit about how that came about and what we can expect from the performance?
Yeah, so basically when I was writing the album, I kind of had, I think I had 2 string players in total in the studio, but naturally you can't afford like an orchestra, so I started like recording all these parts with like old analog string synths and stuff. And then the album kind of like took off and got a bit of momentum. The show started getting bigger, the show got bigger, and then eventually a festival called Moira Collin approached me.
Yeah, you did that earlier in the year, did you?
Yeah, so they actually they funded the strings to be wrote for it, and they bring the show to that level. Yeah, so it was like such a big undergoing for like a fresh festival to take, but the results kind of were amazing. We were so happy with it.
It'll be interesting to see. Obviously, the first time I saw you was down in a very small bar, Ghost Hill in Bangor.
Yeah.
It was a while ago. So seeing you go to this stage now, coming from there, and all this mad production that's gone into this, it'll be really interesting to see.
Yeah, it's like that whole kind of like natural progression of following an artist from like even like a DJ, from a bedroom DJ to that kind of huge warehouse club. So it's I think for a lot of people it seems to be quite nice for them seeing me develop. I think it's always refreshing to see when artists keep moving and innovating.
Yeah, definitely. Have you got anything planned for the future, very similar, or anything even bigger?
Yeah, well, we're kind of sitting on a release for next year. That's going to be probably the biggest release I've done yet. So we're kind of just riding out the end of Distorted Shadows now. And we're kind of riding out on a high, really. So I'm going to just kind of hold this for as long as I can.
Well, speaking of Distorted Shadows, so it's up for an award tonight for Best Album.
Yeah.
And it was also Radio 1's Album of the Week and Irish Times as well. So what was that like, creating that album, and what does it mean personally to you?
Yeah, well, I think the album itself for me was, I would be a massive electronic fan, and I was a DJ from a young age and was always involved in the electronic scene. I don't like saying this, but like I felt that the scene was getting really stale. And everything. I love creativity, and that's why I got into electronics. And something happened. There was the rise of the DJ, which was phenomenal, and I really loved it. But what happened with the rise of the DJ was the monotony of dance music got too much for me.
Yeah.
So the idea was to create this electronic album and was to make it musical again and to mash up genres and
there's a lot of classical in there and mixing of instruments. Like the way you've recorded different aspects of the album, it's a phenomenal. Like the range of instruments you've used.
And it was kind of the whole idea was to challenge what an electronic album would be, because you tend to find people have a sound and the sound is just one thing. And it just felt like everything was getting 2D. So I would like write what I was told was beautiful songs, and then I would go away and destroy them. And I would literally like destroy something beautiful in the hope to find these new things. And that is essentially what Distorted Shadows was about, was taking something that that'll do well and that's easy to listen to, and having the nerve to totally mash it and turn it into something different. Hopefully people will listen to the album, get that, and maybe take something from it. So
you can definitely feel that personal aspect too. Is there any specific songs from the Distorted Shadows that mean something further to you, that you're really heavily emotionally invested in?
Yeah, I think the opening track tonight is Inside, which is the opener of the album. And
fantastic song.
Thanks. So it's kind of like a long one that bridges these gaps. Starts off kind of like a Neil Schramm style kind of art synth, piano breaks in, it turns into like a house track. But then has this like switch into industrial techno and gets really hard before it'll stop. So these kind of like journeys that tracks.
It's like a cliffhanger, mate.
Yeah,
That's exactly what
yeah.
it's like.
But then, you know, I was doing it, and I kind of remember I wanted to sing something, and I wanted to sing something really relevant at the time. And the lyric was, I can't remember when I was like, if you're still leaving, then I'll keep dreaming of better times. And it was a reference to Brexit. And, you know, so there was like a lot of like personal feelings that were put out through the album. And I didn't actually like say that in press releases. It was all very much like, the more you dig into me, the more I'll reveal. Yeah. So a lot of people kind of got a lot of the kind of innuendos in the songs, and you know, then the Distorted Shadows cover actually had like President Trump and stuff as a gremlin on it.
Really?
And, yeah. So
I'll have to actually look at that. I didn't actually.
Loads of people started like discovering stuff and like messaging me, like, is that Thatcher in there as well? I was going, yeah.
That's
so,
ridiculous. The further you delve into your album, you actually get
like,
better understanding.
And I think that's why Oisin and stuff from DSNT and Willis Shout.
He did the cover, didn't he?
Yeah, he done the cover, and the two of us were in that mindset where it was about stirring things up. But just kind of leaving it to people to figure out as well. So, yeah.
Fantastic. Well, it's been a pleasure having you, Ryan. I really do appreciate it. And congratulations on your newborn daughter, by the way.
Yeah, thanks.
Very much, mate.
Thank you.
Cheers. This has been Dara for About Last Night. Ryan Vail just absolutely blew us away. I've never seen a show like it. Just tune in next week for more like it. Cheers.
Good evening, folks, and welcome to About Last Night. I'm Joe, and tonight we have an absolutely jam-packed show for you. I'm down in Cypress Avenue. I'm going to be chatting to Mr. Scruff. He's renowned for doing marathon sessions, unbelievable gigs. I'm going to be chatting to him just beforehand, and that's coming next, so stick around. Welcome back, folks. I am here with Andy Carty, aka Mr. Scruff. Thanks a million for coming and chatting to us.
Hello, thank you. A pleasure.
Good to be back in Ireland.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm a Carty, as you know. That's from Cork. So yeah, kind of. I don't have any family here that I know of, but it's there's some kind of connection. You know what I mean?
You have an affinity for the place.
Indeed. Yeah.
Good to hear.
Yeah.
Come here to me. We don't have a whole pile of time, so I'm very interested. You do a huge amount of prep work prior to your show, so that when you hit the decks, you worry about work in the room. What goes into your routine pre-show?
Just checking what's in the venue before, looking at photos and a list of equipment and stuff, because you don't want to steam in on the day and start asking stuff. You want to know what to expect, and then let people know, okay, we might like to try this or try that. Like, we've got some extra bass spins in for tonight and stuff. But just seeing what the venue's like, seeing what equipment's there, going, okay, well, we could do with a bit of this or a bit of that. And it's good. It means you're being prepared, but also means you're being respectful with the venue staff and not dropping a load of stuff on them on the day, going, oh, we need to change this and that.
These are my requirements, meet them immediately.
Yeah, but the thing is, each venue, you look at it separately and go, okay, well, I see what the room looks like, what the capacity is, what the sound system is, and from our experience, we could maybe do with a little bit more of this, or maybe move the speakers slightly, or, you know, it's more like, would you mind if we did this for tonight, kind of thing. So, yeah, it's just introducing yourself, but also making sure that it can sound as good as it can for what you do.
And that brings me on to my next question quite nicely. You hit the decks at 10 o'clock. It might run on till 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. They're long sessions. Meandering through the set, how do you choose the music and how do you work the crowd?
You choose the music depending on how you feel at the time. It's an odd one. I think you just have to start somewhere. And like, I'm on after Colin Kay's playing the first hour, a good mate of mine, really good local DJ. So it's like wherever he leaves off, I'll use as a starting point, and then you kind of build it. I think the thing is to slowly kind of build up the energy and watch, because sometimes people come in and start dancing straight away. Other times people are like, I've had a long week at work, I just want to wind down for a bit, chat, have a couple of beers, and then get dancing. So you can kind of gauge how ready people are. And because you don't want to force the pace, you know what I mean? I think sometimes, you know, you want to keep it quiet and slow, and then slowly push it and build it at a pace and a tempo that suits the mood of the room and how people are. And obviously you've got, you know, a few hundred different people, so it's more like a kind of collective feeling. that you are very much part of, and you're paying attention to how people are, but obviously you're kind of directing the pace and the mood as well. So it's like it's quite a conversational thing, but what that means is that every gig is different. Because you're watching and listening and walking out onto the dance floor and seeing how it feels and go, well, what would I want to hear now if I was out on a Friday night?
And you've done this, you're on the road a long time. Like, it is different every gig. Do you still get a buzz off it?
I think the main thing that gives me a buzz is the fact that it's different every time. You know, I've never played in this venue before. I love Cork. I first played here at the Guinness Soul and Disco Festival, nearly 25 years ago. So I have a lot of history with the place. I know, obviously, with Radio Friendly and and people like Fish Go Deep and Stevie G. There's Joe, who's promoting tonight. There's a good history of people being really into music and a good scene. So it's nice to kind of come to different places and almost sort of pay attention to what other people have been doing in your absence. You're not just steaming in and going, listen, it's all about me. You're kind of going, okay, well, what's been happening while I've been away for the last couple of years? What music have people been digging? What's Colin playing? Because he plays in Cork, a few times a month. So it's kind of, I think it's keeping your eyes and your ears open, because, even if you're playing in the same place month in, month out, you get a different set of people. The mood's different each night. So I think for me, it keeps me on my toes, means I don't repeat myself. Because I think once you start repeating yourself, then it's just going through the motions, and that's when he starts kind of killing that passion a bit inside. So it's putting yourself in a position where you have to pull it off, but not just going, well, this worked last time, I'll do that again, because that's kind of, that's boring, you know what I mean? But you can tell when DJs are doing that. I think you need to make that connection, and whatever that connection is, it's like a conversation, and who plans a conversation, you know what I mean? I've got my music, it sounds good, I've no excuses, let's kind of, let's take it from here.
It's an extremely thorough approach. I think it's so cool that you read a room, you try to become in tune with the audience, and then you play it from there. Unfortunately, we're out of time just for the interview because we're about to run into the gig. I really can't wait to experience it, genuinely. Thanks a million.
Easy.
Well, that's it for me, folks, from Cypress Avenue, from Mr. Scruff, who is obviously an absolute gentleman. Great to chat to him, great to hear about how he approaches his work. His session is going on upstairs. The set could last all night, so I'm tipping back up to catch the end of it. Catch you next week.
So, Fernando, we are here at District 8 with Elro. My goodness, what a spectacular event it is tonight. There's 2 floors, a ton of DJs. How did you manage to get Elro to join us?
It's been a long process. It's like more than 1 year and a half since we started talking to them and trying to convince them to bring them to Ireland and launch the show actually here in District 8. So it's been a long hundreds and hundreds of emails.
Back and forth. Well, you got them here, and oh my gosh.
Finally, yes.
It's insane. It's incredible how the whole setup is done and everything. But that, you are the man behind the scenes that books everything for District 8.
No, we're actually a team. We're actually 5 bookers.
Giving the
here.
credit. There you go.
It's a big team behind it.
But I'm sure, like myself, plenty of other people who come to District 8, there's so many memories shared here. But as you, as one of the bookers of this iconic venue, any memories that you can share with us that stands out to you?
The best memory I have is the very first show we had here 5 years ago with Roadhall. That was that was the beginning of everything. And we couldn't believe that it was going to be, because it was like 400, 500 people at the time.
And now look at this, the queue is insane, everyone's buzzing to get in, it's incredible. But not only that, there's so many different things that are happening for you in your life right now. The Life Festival, my goodness, has that evolved over the years. We've got about 10 years, from your small little baby to what it is now. Can we expect anything else from Life Festival in 2019?
Just getting better, bigger and better. So we're going to be expecting, this year is going to be really, really good. We have loads of surprises still to give away.
So we're keeping it on the hush, we're just going to leave that there. So Life Festival's going to be insane. Well, Fernando, thank you so much for chatting to us today. We really appreciate it, and we cannot wait to party inside.
Let's go inside.
Let's
have
go
a great
inside
time.
and party. Woo! Thank you. So So I am joined here by Groove Armada. Guys, he's played in his Spain set tonight at District 8. Wow. Have you ever played with Alvaro before?
Yeah, we're kind of sort of unofficial residents for Alvaro already. So yeah, we did last time to meet in Bristol, roundabout. So yeah, it's something good. Tonight was particularly.
I don't know, but do you ever expect, like, I wasn't expecting dancers to come out on the stage, like, there was floating things everywhere, there was vines on the roof, like, is that what you normally expect when you perform with Alvaro?
That's exactly what it's going for. That's what you get at Elro, that's what makes it so special. It's why it's sort of come pretty much sort of the major sort of most exciting club around in Europe right now. They just throw all this fun stuff. Don't overthink it, it's just a really great night. I love it. I think there's a sort of, I love dancing on stage, I love dancing on stage.
The more crazier the better it is. I've seen some things tonight, I'm like, I'm not gonna lie. I'm never gonna forget them. But guys, you have 4 live shows together now. We're now to the end of the year. How does it feel to have Groove Armada back together and perform together?
We're a little bit nervous. Rehearsals start on Monday. So if you'd ask me on Wednesday, it's going to be an honest answer.
A bag of nerves.
Yeah, a bag of nerves, but really excited. It's the same for the people that we talk to, say, and yeah, I'm excited. I think it's going to be great. I might just be panicking on Wednesday. Let's see.
I'm always the same. It's always the same when it comes to performance. Were you in bag of nerves, or were you like, I'm ready for this, let's get back into this?
No, we did for a while. We spent 15 years on the road with these guys. It's like often described as a 15-year stag do. And we had a crack, so like before starting off, we wanted to do it again. Who knows where it'll take us, but they are a bit of a dream team. It's a perfect combination between partying and nailing it. So I'm quietly confident that it's going to be alright.
Now, I'm pretty sure you already know this already, but like Dublin is absolutely obsessed with you guys. Every time he's come to Dublin, it's like mayhem. They're like, oh my god, Groove Armada is here. It's good, that's really nice to hear. But have you got any, because you've played here for a few times, is there any memories that you have here, any gig that stood out to you, like that was incredible, apart from tonight, because tonight was pretty good?
It's been an amazing venue for us. So I think we're so privileged about it. We're back here on the 29th. I think it's sort of winding this venue down. So I'm thinking this is the 29th is going to be the one where it really makes some serious memories.
There we go, 29th. Yeah. How about you? Any memories in Dublin that you want to share?
Yeah, well, the Red Box era was a great event. So we know there's a night there back in the school days when Red Box those days down there with one with the Red Box.
That's going to be massive. There might be a few tears, but like it's an end of an era party, and we're going to party with you guys for sure. Well, thank you so much for giving your time out for us. We really appreciate it. Thank you guys. Thank you.
See you next month.